Thank you guys for joining me. My name is Madar from Food and Fragrances. You are now tuned into the Fragrance Lounge, and we got a hot video for you today because I'm going to be selling you dreams, just like all your favorite content creators when it comes to Amouage Outlands. So not only do I love Cecile Zarokian, but we'll do a full review of Amouage Outlands, my thoughts on it, plus I guess my thoughts on the community of content creation and how they've kind of sold everybody the dream on this. So if that sounds awesome to you, let's play that intro music. When we get back, we'll cover it all. Welcome back. So, very hot topic. I guess we're going to cover it in about 1 minute and 30 seconds. What I love to just kind of get out of the way. Just want to say thank you so much for the support as always growing the channel, doing my best. So I just want to say thank you so much. Your support means the world to me. Just make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, hit the comments. Let me know what your scent of the day is, what your thoughts on Amouage Outlands is. And we'll kind of go from there. Make sure you share the content if, you have other fragrance friends that don't know about me. So truly appreciate it. But let's jump into what we're here for. And we're here for this guy. Or girl. Whatever. So I'm going to go out the way and say I should have sampled this. First and foremost, I know I always say sample first. I got caught up in the craze. I think Fragrance Buy ended up having the bottle available for a decent price. And I was just like, all right, let me jump into it. Let me get it. So I ended up getting it. I wore it for about a week. Definitely not straight, but the way it lasts felt like it was there for the whole week. So I guess we'll touch upon some of the topics that I usually discuss when I'm reviewing things, which will be, the packaging, what I think about the bottle, the spray, and then obviously the scent and the price in comparison. So let's talk about the packaging. Packaging is fairly simple, fairly Amouage. It's pretty nice. I like the artwork. It's good. Secures the bottle when you get the bottle, so you don't have to worry about the bottle kind of being flimsy and wobbling around, which I like. So thank you for that, Amouage. Bottle, I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely different than the other Amouages that we're used to. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have already had the opportunity to get this in your hands. Feels very nice. The cap feels very good. Feels weighted. Kind of feels like a clay type of creation. But it's done really well. I like the detail of it. The plaque of the Amouage stands out. Love the silver ring. The beautiful logo on the cap. I think it's done fairly well. A lot of this, is the attention to detail in the essence line that, they carefully put in. And it's something that I personally appreciate. Now, let's talk about the scent. The scent to me, especially on a content creator, influencer type of basis, everybody was like, it's mass appealing. It's something that everybody will love. It's, the game changer, etc., etc., etc. I am a huge fan of Cecile Zarokian. I've had quite a few of her fragrances in the past. One of my favorites being Mask Milano's Tango. The complexities of it, the spiciness of it, everything, the way that the sweetness kind of was balanced with the spiciness, I thought was fantastic. Amouage Outlands to me is a good scent. I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to tell you it's a bad scent because that would be lying. That'd be a very biased approach, which is negative and absolutely not true. The scent is pretty good. I do like it. It's very strong. I get a lot of frankincense. I get a lot of spiciness. I get that darkness with it, a lot of richness with it. It is a very dense scent. If you're outside when the weather is cold, that's, in my opinion, I think where it really takes off and shines. Dry down, I really do like. I think the dry down is fantastic. It does take longer to get to the dry down because of the potency of the fragrance. But otherwise, I just think it's a little bit boring, in my honest opinion. Now, when we're talking about this scent and how much it cost, I expected a little bit more from it. And I'm using a little bit very, very loosely here. I did expect quite a bit more. I expected more of an airiness. I expected a little bit more of a freshness to it, which I didn't get personally. Okay. I don't want to be that person who feels snobby, in this industry. That's not what it's about. I really want to kind of give you options that are relatable and that you may enjoy more. But, I always use with discretion and say, if you guys are not sure, sample it first, no matter what. Find a good price per ml, sample it, because at the end of the day, you're paying for the juice regardless, right? And when you're paying for the juice, you're going to use that juice. And if that really makes you say, I love this fragrance down to it all, then yeah, go out, buy yourself a bottle. Okay. But for me, I should have done that. I should have heeded my own advice, which I didn't, because I would have definitely not purchased a full bottle of this. I'm just not a fan of the sweetness, the overall sweetness of this. It's almost to the extent that it feels headache inducing. Now, I do think this is a great scent for the cooler weathers and is very one dimensional in that sense. I would much prefer wearing other things when the weather kind of fluctuates from winter cold to maybe like fall, spring cool. So this is to me why I kind of feel like it's a bit one dimensional. I think there's an overload of frankincense. I think the oud in here does, again, deepen it and make it a little bit more darker in combination with the frankincense. I think the sweetness in here is almost borderline cloying without the freshness that I thought would have done this fragrance well. And the airiness that could have potentially done this fragrance a lot more better. And the balsamic type of feel to the sweetness is again adding to that too much of something type of feeling with this fragrance. Now, again, I do think it's a good fragrance. I just, in price point comparison, even at discounters for, I guess for me, we got it for 420 Canadian dollars at a discounter. I just don't see the value there. I would have rather saved up for something else that I would have enjoyed or that I've tested and enjoyed. But I do kind of want to preface this and say, I'm not necessarily a fan of sweeter scents. So I'll always say take it with a grain of salt, because what I'm kind of touching upon is my bias towards it. And also my bias because of the fragrances that I've interacted with and that I've encountered. This fragrance has oud in it, which I'm very, very familiar with oud from the designer perspective, the niche perspective, and the artisanal perspective. Same thing with ambergris. And when I preface and say that I wish this fragrance had a little bit more of that airiness and that freshness, I do wish the ambergris had a little bit more of a play in this fragrance, which it definitely does not. And again, same thing as oud with ambergris. I have the designer, the niche, and the artisanal experience with ambergris and what to expect out of it and how much I enjoy the scent. It's just, to me, it kind of, I don't want to say fails, but it doesn't deliver on what my expectations for the scent were. And again, especially knowing who the perfumer is and also knowing the price point of this. So again, given that, I like Cecile Zarokian's work, and you'll see I'll mention 3 other fragrances that I recommend, and one of those has her work in it, that I'd recommend in comparison to this. But I just, yeah, to me, I just don't think it hits home for me like it does some other content creators. And I'll touch upon that a little bit later. It's one that I'd say tread carefully, see what you think, because I did post something on Instagram offering my controversial take on it, and it blew up. And a lot of comments were kind of siding with what I was saying, that it didn't feel like an Amouage type of scent. It didn't feel like the complex scent that you kind of get from an Amouage creation. It didn't feel like the quality was there. And to me, I just didn't feel like the quality was there either. I do own quite a few Amouages. Obviously not a huge collection, because I'm very selective with those, and they're, some of them are typically a little bit more difficult to wear. But I do enjoy Overture Man. I do enjoy Beach Hut Man. I do enjoy Lyric Women. I do enjoy Interlude Black Iris, and the other one that I just got, Purpose 50. I personally thought, and again, don't shoot me, I'm not, whatever, I personally thought Purpose 50 is much better than Amouage Outlands. So it really kind of makes me question what the thrill and the rush of this was for, right? So to me, and again, I've smelt the new Creed that came out, Oud Zarian. Given that it was perfumed again by Cecile Zarokian, it makes me think, why? Where was the difference? Like, I know the material and the ingredient list was different for Oud Zarian, but the density and the purpose and the feeling behind the fragrance kind of felt very much the same from Amouage to Creed. So I don't know. Like, for me, I just don't care for it to that degree. I am going to keep the bottle. I think the bottle is worth wearing, but I am going to decant the hell out of it. I'll probably leave myself 25 to 30 ml and keep the bottle. Because I do see myself wearing it occasionally. It does cover something I think that's missing out of my collection, which is that bombastic longevity and performance that this does deliver on. So we'll move on to our next category, which is the performance. I think the performance is top notch. If you're looking for a scent of this caliber, which is spicy, it has that sweetness, that resinous, balsamic sweetness, that frankincense. This is a scent that will perform and perform and perform. It lasts on one of my shirts for at least 5 days, unrelenting. In the room, you could smell it. Even on skin, it lasts a fairly long time. You cannot knock the performance of this at all. I give it much respect. Projection, especially in the air, fantastic. I think it's done well on those accords. It's just when you're not too much of a fan of the scent and having those, categories amplified, it does make it a little bit more of a treacherous wearing than an enjoyable wearing. So again, I'm not trying to be pompous. I'm not trying to be, I know more than anybody. I'm just giving you my take on it. And that's kind of where I sit with it. If I was to rate Outlands, personally, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. It just doesn't do anything special for me, but it does excel in categories that I don't have covered in my fragrance selection. I will wear it. I think 6.5 is a wearable scent. Very situational for me, personally. But I just say if I'm out and I'm going to a larger event and I do want to be, punctuated with a scent, I think this one will do the trick and it'll smell good. It's just, it doesn't smell great. And especially at that retail price point, you can find something else. So let's move on to the 3 fragrances that I'd recommend if you're in this vein. I'm not going to say that it's going to be 1 for 1, the exact identical thing that Outlands is accomplishing, but I'd encourage you to try these scents because I do think these scents have a little bit of boost and smell fantastic, especially for this type of scent category that this is trying to push. So first one that we'll talk about is from the House of Javoy, and this is Amber Premier. This is an ambery scent done fairly well. There's that airiness that I was talking about, It has that beautiful amber, a nice transitional scent, has some spices into it, feels very nice, enveloping, comforting. It does have a little bit of loudness, a little bit of projection to it, and it will last. And again, in the cooler weather, the way that this fragrance is and how it kind of feels a little bit more toasty, emulating kind of like the frankincense that comes out of Amouage. I think Amber Premier at its price point hits fantastic. Do not sleep on Javoy. I think Javoy is a fantastic house that you guys should all get your nose on. They do things really really well. At least 4 to 5 fragrances that I think are fantastic. So check out Amber Premier if you want a still a niche high quality composition done at a more affordable price point. And I'll show you the other two. Now, the other fragrance is from the house of Boudicca. Maybe a little bit tougher to get your hands on, but I have seen quite a few of these floating around, and this is Amethyst. Beautiful purple bottle. But this is an excellent scent. Again, you're getting something that's a little bit more balanced. You have Christian Provenzano, I believe, behind this fragrance. You have a vanilla leather type of note, so the leather will be a little bit darker, a little bit more, I'm going to use it very sparingly, but bitter to kind of round everything out and balance out the sweetness. You got some pepper, some cinnamon in here, but it's a very nice, warm, comforting fragrance. Another similar type of fragrance would be Dragon, which is a little bit more available than Amethyst. But in my honest opinion, I really do love this. And especially as it dries down, I feel like it gets a little bit more potent, lasts a very good while as well, and develops very, very nicely on skin. I would highly recommend, if you do see a bottle of Amethyst kind of flying around, to get your nose on it, try it out, and see what your thoughts are. But in my opinion, I love the way that this scent kind of develops. Again, giving you a different type of price point. This would be a little bit more towards the pricing of an Amouage bottle, if you find it. But this is another great option that I'd highly, highly recommend. Something spicy, sweet, a little bit leathery to kind of tame everything up and create more of a balanced composition, which could kind of be a little bit more varied and have a little bit of a story journey as you wear it and develop with the bottle. So that's Amethyst from Boudicca. Now, the third fragrance is from Cécile Zarokian. This is one of my favorite houses. A lot of people don't talk about this house for some reason, but this is Pure Distance, and this is Shea Duna. Now, even though it may not necessarily be like Outlands, this is a great testament of scent development and kind of when a perfumer goes in with a fresh creative slate, this is kind of what comes out of it. There's so much variety and so much variance in this fragrance. It's absolutely wonderful. Beautiful, leather holder. This is my scent of the day today, but absolutely wonderful. This is a sweeter, amber, florally, citrusy type of fragrance with a beautiful woody composition, some beautiful spices, frankincense, just done extremely well. More unisex than Outlands for sure. I think the other two are pretty unisex. But this is absolutely wonderful. This is more of a subtle slate to this type of fragrance, frankincense, sweetness composition. But the florals really, really do extremely well to balance everything and create such a beauty of a composition to this type of fragrance. So I highly, highly recommend Pure Distance. If you do get your hands on a sample, I don't think you would regret it. A little bit more expensive, but I do think the quality is definitely worth it in my opinion. So those are the ones that I'd recommend instead of Amouage. Now, we'll move on to the last topic and probably, something that you may want to stick around for, or may not want to. Who knows? I don't care. I'm still going to talk about it. Sorry. But my biggest thing is, and again, it's not because I fell into the hype, but it's kind of sort of what I've been noticing. A lot of influencers were pushing Outlands a lot, heavily to the fact that I think one influencer, and I'm pretty sure you know who I'm going to talk about, but I'm not going to say their name, had a whole thing of bottles displayed, stating that Outlands was the greatest fragrance ever. Now, I understand that, some people, they have their own scent DNAs that they enjoy, or things that, kind of resonate with them a little bit more. And I understand that a lot of the influencers, they have a lot of their fragrance selections kind of handed to them, and their experience with scents sort of like this that have a little bit more mystique and a little bit more development to them may not necessarily be in their realm. And if it resonates with them and they like it, they're going to go nuts over it. So I did notice that this one influencer was pushing this like crazy. And then I think on a video, they called out Amouage, showing a message that they sent to them stating that they wanted to give the community bottles, like 8 to 10 bottles, and do a giveaway with Amouage giving the bottles out. Amouage obviously said, no, that's not what we're about. That doesn't meet our, our business needs, or whatever the case may be. And then he kind of blew them up on his channel, basically stating Amouage is not for the people, and this is why I don't support them anymore, yada yada yada. Now, I understand on a perspective of the the viewers and the niche fragrance heads being like, this person is for the people, he's for the people, he gets us, he wants to do things for us. I get it, but it's nothing to him. Right? It's easy to go out and ask a company and be like, I want to do a giveaway, let's do a giveaway, but you're footing the bill. You have to realize Amouage is a niche house. Their materials to make the bottles, again, I don't have a balance sheet or whatever, or fact sheet to kind of say this is how much they spent on the creation, but they have a certain niche type of portfolio where their market share in the fragrance community is not going to be as high as a dupe house or a Middle Eastern house. Their cost of doing business is factored into the free bottles that are given to the influencers. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just going to say that. This I pay for out of my own pocket. So there's nothing wrong for houses to give influencers, especially big influencers like that, the bottle to go and showcase and be like, here, advertise for us and yada, yada, yada. That's the cost of doing business. They're going to be out a $750 purchase, or whatever the retail cost of this bottle is Canadian. But that's the cost of doing business, because they're paying for the view and the reach. Now, for this person to say, well, I'm going to oust this company and say that, yo, you guys are the bad guys, doesn't make sense to me, because at the end of the day, if you want to do a giveaway, buy the bottles and give it away. If you're asking the company to kind of give away their bottles to your viewers, it's hurting them, because realistically, these are the people who are meant to buy it based off of the viewership that they've given you the bottle for. They've expensed. So if they give you the bottles, right, to push out and say, here, do the giveaway for us, they lose 10 potential clients that were supposed to buy the fragrance based off of your recommendation, which is $7,000 Canadian. Now, you're just one influencer. There's many other influencers. You keep going around in the circle. Let's say Joe sent me, the perfume guy, Sebastian, I don't know, one other guy, I don't know, somebody else, just choose an influencer, says, I want to do the same thing. You gave it to him. I want to do the same thing. That's going to compound and cost the brand Amouage a whole lot of money, right? Again, to potential clients that they're kind of relying on you to bring in. Now, what irritates me with this is, not only do you blow them up and say, I'm not dealing with Amouage anymore, then you start hyping up the Middle Eastern brand, right? That is making the dupe of this fragrance, and then converting all the people who are like, you're for the man, you're for the people. Sorry, not for the man. You're for the people. You want us to succeed, and I'm rocking with you. And now you're converting these people into your commission link to buy the cheap dupe. And the cheap dupe house is obviously going to be like, yeah, for sure, just give out these fucking bottles. Who cares? Shit's cheap. It's cheap to make. It's cheap shit. Go ahead, give it out. right? You're converting these people now to your commission link, doing giveaways, making yourself look like you're the man of the people. But like realistically, I'm not gonna go the con artist route, but realistically, it's scummy. It's a scummy tactic, right? So that's kind of my view on it, because now you got the people against Amouage who gave you this to promote. You did your thing, and you're converting those people into your cheap commission link, because you know a lot more people are gonna go out and buy the dupe because it's, number one, affordable. Number two, if they don't like it, well, at least I gave it a try. And even if I flip it at a loss, it's not going to cost me too much because it's cheap anyways, right? And at the end of the day, fragrance is fragrance. Like, it's going to smell good. It's just, what do you want on you? Do you want something that's going to be noticeably a little bit more better in quality? More better in quality, not a little bit, but more better in quality? Or do you want something that's, just there to do the trick and, because at the end of the day, the clients are not the same, right? But everybody will buy stuff because that's what they do. That's what we do in this community. We just buy shit. So, yeah, to me, I'm not a fan of that tactic. I wasn't a fan of it. I think Amouage Outlands has been pushed crazily to us. And to me, that's kind of where it falls very flat, in the sense that my expectations were up here based off of everybody just being like, yo, yo, yo. And it's free bottle brigade at that point. Like, very, very direct. Which, it's kind of like, now I don't trust the credibility. So a lot of this whole Dubai hype is happening. A lot of people are being bought. In my opinion, I've spoken to quite a few perfumers where they say, a lot of people, I say, here, I'll give you a bottle, right? Like $700, $800 bottle. And people will come back and be like, yeah, it smells good. He's like, you want me to post it? I have a media kit. You want one post, is going to cost you $500, $2,500, that range. You want a video on it? Well, it's going to cost you $5K. I hate to say it, but like, yo, who do you think you are? Like, I'm sorry. You ain't that special. Majority of the time, you're like, yeah, it's sweet, it's woody. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So to me, I just say, I know sometimes I come off as harsh. I know sometimes I come off as snobby. My thing is, I want to give you guys the best content. I want to give you guys the most truthful content. And I'm sorry, like, if it comes off as, it doesn't align with your personal beliefs with fragrances, take it as you may. But like, my preferences for fragrance may be different than yours, and that's fine. If I was to like everything that everybody else like, we would all smell the same. It's good to have diversity. There's no, if you're over here, then you can't be over here. We can always meet at a middle point, talk it out. And at the end of the day, if there's something that I'm missing and you want me to go and revisit and be like, yo, did you check this? Did you get maybe this experience? I'll go back and I'll check that. And I'll see if I got that experience. And I'll appreciate you for coming at me that way. I like that. In same ways, vice versa. It's a two-way street. So that's it. Much love. 6.5 for Outlands. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. Bye. Enjoy your weekend.